Now, one person we did hear from today for the first time, Karen Reed herself, doubling down, of course, saying she did not do this. She wants to know who did.
Said it feels we're the only ones fighting for the truth of what happened to John O'Keefe. And me and my family and my attorneys and my team have marshaled every resource to get to the truth. It just feels like no one else wants it.
Karen, just to be clear, you didn't do it.
We know who did it, Steve. We know. And we know who spearheaded this cover-up. You all know.
Yes, we do.
And no, she didn't do it. No, she didn't do it. This is an innocent woman. She didn't do it.
I tried to save his life.
Yeah.
I tried to save his life at 6 in the morning. I was covered in the only one trying to save his life.
Why'd you admit to it?
She didn't admit to it. She didn't admit to anything close to that. Nothing close to that. And you should know that.
That was like 3 or 4 times she admitted to it.
No, she didn't.
That's not true.
She asked a question. She asked a question, which is very different. She didn't admit to anything.
You are listening to the Roberta Glass True Crime Report, putting the true back in true crime. From New York City, Roberta Glass is now on the record.
Okay, how is everybody? Wanted to talk today about Karen Reed and what is a dumpster fire of a new podcast by M.W. Phelps about the second-degree murder of John O'Keefe, police officer John O'Keefe. And it has a very interesting backstory. And what we've seen in the past weeks, more than I can report on, really, is it's that Karen Reed seems to be imploding, falling apart at the seams. They're all angry with each other, even though they're screaming like, we know Reed's, you're innocent, but you should just come forward with what you know. That's one podcaster screaming about that in between F-bombs. And of course, Aidan Turtleboy Kearney, who has so many witness harassment charges against him, is very upset because M.W. Phelps' manager is a man by the name of Matthew Valentinus, and it's also Turtleboy's manager. So here he is. And he has an interesting background. He co-produced the documentary An Open Secret about child victims of predators in Hollywood. And that was directed. They hired sort of a director for hire. They hired Amy Berg, who made what I'd call faux documentary about the West Memphis 3 that was produced by a convicted killer himself, Damien Echols, sort of what the prosecutors felt was the ringleader of the murder of 3 8-year-old boys in Arkansas. If you haven't looked at Exhibit 500, which was an exhibit his own defense team put together, I highly recommend you do. He was deeply disturbed young adult at the time that he murdered 3 8-year-old boys. And he was really the ringleader and very interested in Satanism. Now, if you watch the Paradise Lost documentaries, it just makes it look like he was into Wicca and he wore black t-shirts and they all listened to Metallica, and that's what it was about. But he was very deeply disturbed individual, hurting animals, killing animals, starting fires, threatening to kill fellow, threatening to kill people, getting into fights, in and out of various hospitals for mental problems. So, hold on one second. And so, Amy Berg directed An Open Secret, but when An Open Secret came out, they were upset that she didn't want to promote the film. So you'll see there's a link in this episode to an Entertainment Weekly article about how the other co-producer, Gabe Hoffman, was really upset because when it came time to promote An Open Secret, Amy Berg would not promote it at all. But for the West Memphis 3 faux documentary co-produced by Amy Berg herself and the killer, Damien Echols, convicted killer, he got out. So he was convicted by a jury. And then because of the public pressure, they spent $10 to $20 million. These politicians decided that they probably do well, DA would do well, letting them out, making a deal, but making an Alford plea and letting them out because they had done 18 years in prison at that point, and Damien Echols was on death row for it. So they pled guilty again via Alford. So if you don't know what an Alford plea, it's legally a guilty plea. So Amy Berg loved to run around with the West Memphis 3. There she is on the left, our left to Damien Echols. There's a picture of Damien Echols with his wife, Lori, in the green shirt on the right. And if you're listening on podcast, it's a picture of Damien Echols, Amy Berg, and Damien Echols' wife, prison wife, and wife now, Lori Davis. So she really liked to promote that. She promoted that. I mean, one of the most crazy things is in the documentary, she blames the boys' wounds on snapping turtles. Here's a quote: "Huge snapping turtles. We're talking about like 110-pound beasts. They're like prehistoric beasts. And we talked to turtle expert breeders, and apparently snapping turtles go to corpses. Wherever there's a corpse, they will." So forget that one of the 3 killers, Jesse Miss Kelly, confessed multiple times post-conviction, one time against his lawyers, begging him not to confess, that it would mess up his appeal. And he said, very sadly, said that what they did to those 3-year boys, and it wasn't the result of turtles. Let's put it that way. Let's keep it YouTube friendly. And it's really sad. And then after that, she made the documentary The Case Against Adnan Syed. Here's Damien Echols making a tweet about Amy Berg. This is Amy Berg at Disarming Films, the director of both The Case Against Adnan Syed and West of Memphis. She is saving lives. Thank you. So she's got a thumbs up from a convicted triple child killer. And there she is with Adnan Syed, who got out from the same kind of innocence fraud campaign, a podcast serial instead of a documentary, a podcast. And then Amy Berg filled the gap in 2019, the same year the Supreme Court of Maryland affirmed his conviction. And when he got out, there she was on the courthouse steps. So Adnan Syed got out because they had a soft on crime prosecutor named Marilyn Mosby who was fighting fraud allegations, which she eventually got convicted of, was on her way out of office and just signed off on a lot of ridiculous evidence. One of them was the DNA on the shoes of the victim, Heyman Lee. No, not on her feet, but in the back of her car. that supposedly the DNA on the bottom of the soles of her shoes had new suspects. And of course, a witness who talked about Adnan Syed harassing Heyman Lee before he killed her. So one of the new suspects that released Adnan Syed was in fact Adnan Syed himself. So that's Amy Berg. So Matthew Valentinas has a history of working with Amy Berg. He also represents this man called John Willis, who was a white guy who was involved in gang activities, was convicted of drug trafficking and weapons trafficking, I believe, and he won't be due out of prison till 2028. He represented him, and his other client wrote a book. Bob Holleran wrote a book about John Willis's life and crime there. So that'll give you like a little history. But the first we heard that this podcast went back to Aidan Kearney was when Aidan Kearney spilled the beans himself on Twitter and said, our contracts, so both M William Phelps and Aidan Kearney are represented by Matthew Valentina. And Aidan Kearney's saying that his contract gives him 40% of the profits. So he's freaking out. We're going to look at a little bit of his video. He is freaking out because the podcast is taking a Karen Reed is guilty stance, which, you know, a lot of people are saying, isn't this great? He's A+ journalist. He has integrity. You know, you could look at it that way, or you could look at it that he wants the entire community, so that he knows that Aidan Kearney has to promote it, so that the pro Karen Reed side, the FKR Free Karen Reed side, will listen to it because Aidan Kearney's promoting it. And then to get the other half of the community, that's one way to look at it. He'll go, Karen Reed is guilty. But boy, is Aidan Kearney pissed off. That's the only way I could say it. We'll look at his video in a second, a little bit of it. But before we do, let us get to your comments.
We got your comments. You had something to say. You were insightful. Oh, so clever. So Roberta's going to read your comments. Hey, Roberta, read those comments.
Okay, so last time we had lots of comments. Same thing. This time I think the Karen Reed people have given up a little bit, the free Karen Readers, but they're still out there and commenting. Badass Cass is back saying, I seriously question your intellect. You're about to be seriously humbled. Between all the disciplinary actions taken on the Canton PD and MSP investigators, and that's not enough to make you question anything. Yikes. Try honing your critical thinking skills. So this is a comment that I've gotten over and over again. I mean, in the beginning, when I talked about the West Memphis 3 being guilty, it was really like, I think William Ramsey put it best, it was like putting your hand to a dam, trying to hold back all the negative comments. The Paradise Lost documentary had did such a good job of brainwashing the public, and including me. First time I saw the Paradise Lost documentaries, I thought, you know, they were innocent. It wasn't until I looked further into the transcripts and the case files did I realize how wrong I was. But so I always get comments like this that any minute now, especially Darlie Routier is another person, any minute they're going to prove her innocence. My critical thinking skills are so bad. And in this case, we've been waiting for the feds to come in and prove corruption, because one of the things that Karen Read did in typical innocence fraud style was she got a federal investigation into the police officers just to make it look like something nefarious went on. So it's really what innocence fraud is all about, is to make something look like something else, right? So to make it look like on the surface, because they know most people won't do their due diligence and won't take a second look. All you have to say is federal investigation. The police officers are federal investigated. Or in other times they'll say they were accused of something in another case. Doesn't matter if they did this with Amanda Knox, with the investigator, that he was under investigation. Never mind that he eventually got cleared of it. So anytime you're under investigation, it's going to make it look shady. But they've been waiting for the feds to come forever and prove some kind of corruption. And all we've gotten is unprofessional tweets, racy tweets and unprofessional tweets and embarrassing tweets for the police department. So I haven't seen any corruption yet, but if I'm wrong, I'll say I'm wrong, but I haven't seen anything like that yet. Carolyn Antonia thinks Karen Read is guilty, but she thinks Turtleboy is innocent, but she thinks Turtleboy goes overboard, even though coming from a good place. Really? You think someone who has terrorized the family and has that many witness harassment counts against them is coming from a good place, and is for passion for help, for justice doesn't help? The evidence speaks for itself, she says. What evidence? I love when people talk like that. What evidence makes you think Karen Read is innocent? Because the main pieces of evidence really got debunked. The 206, supposed 206 a.m. phone search got totally debunked in court. And the dog bite that expert got practically laughed off the stand. My view. Obviously, other people can see it differently. Wesley Loves Oktoberfest says, I canceled my Vanity Fair subscription today after 20 years. What a load of crap. Please keep doing a great job, Roberta. Thanks, Wesley. But yeah, the Karen Readers are kind of falling apart. Here's Turtleboy talking about this deal he made. I mean, my feeling is that we can do a lot better than the M.W. Phelps podcast when it comes to Karen Read. And I know that Innocence Fraud Watch has been keeping track and has found lots of inaccuracies in it that aren't getting corrected. And I know that the move generally of people, they want to like something, right? You don't want to hate everything, but I just feel we can do much better when it comes to true crime content. And for the people that are talking it up, they're really talking up something that's filling Aidan Kearney's pockets, who's harassed witnesses, who's treated the family terribly. I just feel that we can just do a lot better than this. And that we shouldn't be so eager to support things that just echo our viewpoint. That's how I feel. I don't know. How do you guys feel? That's how I feel about it.
I want to show you some messages here. Let me take a break from this.
So this is from Aidan Kearney's on Rumble. And I had to edit out. There's like 10,000 F-bombs in this thing. I had to edit them out because one comes like every 3 seconds. It's crazy.
Like, so this is like all dealing with the whole time.
To set this up, he goes through his relationship with M. W. Phelps, who's the podcaster. He's also an author of many true crime books, who did the podcast 34 Fairview, whose manager, Matthew Valentinus, they share, meaning Aidan Kearney and M. William Phelps share this manager, Matthew Valentinus, and they made this deal. And here is Aidan Kearney complaining that M. William Phelps, Phelps, excuse me, Phelps, if you have a last name, I'm going to screw it up. Phelps came to him and constantly wanted research from him and basically wanted Aidan Kearney to do the research for him. That's Aidan Kearney's argument. But you'll see that the contract requires Aidan Kearney to talk it up to his followers and to promote it and to not to denigrate it. So it's going to be interesting. And Aidan Kearney wants to sue. Be interesting to see if he can, now that he's spoken publicly so badly about it. But take a listen.
Constantly asking me to do all the work. Do you have a list of the Proctor texts? Yeah, I'm in a car. That was the weekend I was going to Notre Dame. But I guess I could go through all of Michael Proctor's testimony and give you a list and transcribe all his texts for you. Or you could just do it. Like, you could just do it. But you want me to do it for some reason. You want a list of all of Michael Proctor. Lazy. You can go find them yourself, dude. They're on YouTube. Like, you can just Google it and you get all his texts. That's fucking hard, you know? So there's that. How about this one? What's this one say? Can you get me Lucky's interview with the feds? He asks me. I have some posted excerpts online and was wondering if you...
So Lucky Loughran, for those that don't know, is the vision impaired snowplow driver who's changed the story like a dozen times and is now really the hero of the Free Karen Reed movement, because he basically said exactly, in my opinion, what David Yannetti, Karen Reed's lawyer, wanted him to say. He remembered exactly to the date, to the timestamp, exactly what they wanted him to remember, but didn't remember other things that you would think would stick out in his brain, like hitting a basketball hoop that night.
You had a copy of the entire thing. If you knew anything about it, how could I get Lucky's interview with the feds? Are you kidding me? You want me to just give you everything? Like, I don't have... It's the federal government. I have my interview with Lucky. I've published that whole thing. Everything he told me. Proctor did an interview with him. Go read that. Just, can you just give me everything? Like, what? No. And this is when it started to fall apart, because he was really into this. And as you're going to see in these messages during the trial, he was so into the McAlberts are guilty. And then all of a sudden that changed after I'm not handing him everything and doing all his work for him. Like, look at this one he wants from me. This is what he asked me for. Okay.
Right. So for Aidan, everything involves him. He really, as long as he was giving M. William all the information, he was totally in agreement with Aidan. But the fact that Aidan refused to help him more, he got angry. It's a personal thing to Aidan. It's not that the evidence is freaking overwhelming. Many things. I mean, my feeling is, I don't know why M. William Phelps went Karen Reed is guilty. It's certainly the harder position to do. My feeling is he wants all of the community. I mean, that's my insight. Maybe it's a harder position to back up. I mean, you got to go into fantasy land, basically. It's not like people aren't willing to do it, though, into conspiracy territory and jump through hoops to make her look innocent. There's so much evidence. It's so ridiculous. But that's what people want to hear. They want to hear the fantastical story of the very bad cops. Guys, the very bad cops. And the terrible corruption. And the one brave woman up against the terrible corruption. They want to hear that story. It happens to be totally untrue, but people still want to hear it. That's where the money's at. I mean, Vanity Fair said that Aidan Kearney's making $50,000 a month. I mean, that's so crazy. I mean, that's such a huge amount in this field with this story. I mean, I'm telling you, you don't make that on this side, this side of the fence, certainly. You make like $5 a month.
He wants
maybe
police reports, affidavits from the night of the morning after, any FBI reports from the federal investigation, photos of me, the Free Karen Reed movement, pictures of Karens I took, videos from when you recorded Lindsay snapping, any audio you think would work for a podcast, especially if you have an exclusive audio of Karen, any audio of you being threatened. So basically everything. And by the way, all of this is on my YouTube channel. You can just go on my YouTube channel and find all of this. You can go to the Justice for John and Karen Facebook page. I don't have time to do all of your work for you. Just do it. It is Andy No all over again. If anybody remembers the Andy No saga from a couple of years ago, it is exactly like the Andy No saga. Very simple.
So Andy No's a writer who writes about Antifa, and Turtleboy, I believe, I'm not well versed on what went down. What I could gather from doing a little bit of research, I didn't have time to go fully full deep dive into it, but that he accused Andy No of stealing his work and Fox News. And I assume it has something to do with Antifa because I read Andy No's book on Antifa and I thought it was great. I enjoyed it. But apparently he's public enemy number one to Turtleboy.
Similar. Asking this. I need pictures of you, Karen, an exclusive photo that no one has seen. Some of Free Karen Reed people picketing at the courthouse, or you leading them on a chant with a bullhorn. These would be pictures you took, so we would retain the rights to the cover image. So I'm doing all the work. Okay. And then these are messages he sends during the trial on 6/25. Okay. During closing arguments about Brian Albert. Oh my God. He looks like he wants to jump over the railing and attack. This is classic. This closing is brilliant. Does this sound like somebody who thinks Karen Reed is guilty? Does it? No. He's just like every other fraud out there who thinks Karen Reed is innocent until he gets mad at me. That's all it is. He's mad I didn't do all the work for him.
Right. It's not that anyone could ever think that Karen Reed is really guilty. It's just that everyone's mad at Aidan Kearney. It all has to do with a personal vendetta against Aidan Kearney. That's believable. Right, guys? That's believable, right? It's not that all the evidence or the fact, I mean, I see them very much as similar animals, M William Phelps and Aidan Kearney. So I'm not exactly sure why he took this position. It may be because he knows that statistically the state has a much better chance of convicting Karen Reed the second time around. He may see what's coming and doesn't want to be on the conspiracy, although the conspiracy side would feed his pockets coming, because if she gets convicted and goes to prison, it's not going to end there. It's going to be Free Karen Reed, the appeal. We have all the sequels: Free Karen Reed, the appeal, Free Karen Reed from prison, Free Karen Reed, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not sure why he went. I don't know him well enough. But I'm just shocked that he couldn't find Proctor's texts. I mean, this is where I get a little sympathetic, believe it or not, towards Aidan Kearney. And I mean, he knows that. He knows that the audience would will hear this and be sympathetic for someone who can't even find all of Proctor's text messages. I mean, all you have to do is watch at least a lot of them, either go to the court documents. He has to know how to do that. He's written so many books. Go to the court documents. If they're not out yet, the trial's still going on. Watch the trial and get what you can. I'm not exactly sure when that was written.
That I didn't stop what I was doing and send him an itemized list of Proctor's text messages. And now he's like, okay, maybe Kennedy's guilty then. Suddenly his position changes because and what is it? What did they say they did? No, they're not mad at me. They're just following the facts. That's what they always, no, we're just following the facts. It just happened. I'm following the facts. It happens to be the exact same time I got mad at you, but I swear it's a coincidence. This is about Gemma Cabe's searches. My guess is she typed it in at 2:27 and didn't hit enter before deleting. The documentation clearly shows that. It shows that. Okay. So I guess she did do it.
Did I say 2:06 and it's 2:27? My apologies.
Aidan, Proctor testifies he didn't know
that they claim when it really happened early in the morning when Karen Reed's asking her to look up how long to die in the cold as they're searching.
That's an emphatic lie, right? Yeah, it is a fucking lie. That is a lie. Absolutely. Yes, he gets it. If she didn't search it at 2:27, then why are the two searches spelled different? How long to die in cold and how long to die in cold? I'm not following the Commonwealth's logic with this witness today. And I explained to him. Because she Googled it at 2:27. She realized that's a mistake. She deletes it. She's like, I have to delete this. I have to search this later on so it doesn't look suspicious. So it makes sense that I Googled it later on. Except she's in rush and she spells it the wrong way at 6:23.
Or she was in a rush because Karen Reed was screaming at her to look up how long to die in the cold and she misspells it and corrects herself. How about that?
Which is why 10 seconds later, she did it again. How long to die in cold. That's why. Not brain surgery. Boom. Got him. Oh my God, I can't believe he put this. Okay. He sends me a screenshot of somebody named Manda on Twitter and saying, Officer John O'Keefe's blood is inside the door jamb. It's in that 3,074 page report. I don't think it's in there. Okay. Let me just put that. I don't think that's actually in there. And then he sends to me, does anyone have a copy of this report? Yeah, Matt, I have a copy of the confidential federal documents
Well, you would think he would because he's so close with Karen Reed. We know that Karen Reed was orchestrating through him her own leaks and leaking information that he couldn't get, that you couldn't get, that wasn't public. So it makes sense to think that he would. So how does he know what's in that document, whether it's in there or not? And that's a pretty damning fact to Karen Reed if it is in there, that his blood is in the door jamb. I mean, the feds found that. How does he know it's there or not? He's denying it's there, but if he hasn't read the document, how would he know?
Into their investigation that no one can get. And I'm going to give them to you for some reason instead of, sharing them on my form. Like, again, unbelievable. Then this is how I knew things were going downhill. When I see, can you send me the entire convo with Steve Scanlon? And he's quoting a Julie Carpenter quote. Julie Carpenter is a crazy person from Indiana, a bootleg Peg Bundy, just one of the trashiest broads you've ever seen in your life. And just a literal crazy person. Yesterday, she tweeted out that it is against the law to criticize the state police. Was that her exact quote? It was insane. Bettero highlighted it. Let me see if I can pull up Bettero's tweet here on this. I believe
she made a tweet today saying that this wasn't what she was saying. Although the wording of her tweet here makes it seem like that. But she says it was about accusing Jen McCabe of murder is slander, essentially. I think that's what she's saying, meaning it's illegal. I think that's what she meant.
I mean, you're like, okay, this is the dumbest. Like, she's like a cartoon character when you read it. And yeah, this is it. You just accused the state police of lying. That's a
crime. You also just implicated Jen McCabe. That's a crime. Stop lying to yourself. So I guess she's talking about some kind of slandering the state police and slandering Jen McCabe. I assume that's what she's saying. But making it sound, I think she would even say she regrets using that language, illegal.
crime. It's a crime to accuse the state police of lying. So says the bootleg Peggy Bundy. Oh, imagine thinking that. Imagine a grown-up who can drive a car and vote. This person can vote on Tuesday. That's wild. What kind of country allows people like that?
So Aidan Kearney has a really effective way of dehumanizing anybody who doesn't agree with him. So he'll give them nicknames. Peggy Bundy, bootleg Peggy Bundy, call them crazy. So just dismiss them outright as crazy and not to be listened to. And you notice that pretty much all the nicknames from this case have come from him. Aunt Bev, Plevin, whatever else, whatever. Anyone he doesn't like gets a nickname, a demeaning nickname. And is mocked.
She says, you just accused the state police of lying. That's a crime. Oh my, you just implicated Jen McCabe. That's a crime. Okay. And so this, as soon as I see this from Phelps, he sends me this email. Like, I'm like, bro, you are reading Julie Carpenter tweets. She's a cartoon character, my dude. She's not like a serious person.
Right. Not like the guy with what does he have? 19, 18, 17 witness harassment complaints against him now? I've lost count. He's not a serious person like Aidan Kearney with all the witness harassment counts against him. And the accusation of SA. Forget that. He's the serious journalist here. And these are just crazy people on the internet.
So then we have here, we go to, I'm looking for Phelps. Okay. Matt Phelps, M William Phelps. Okay. So I go to people who follow, I go to his follower list, right? Oh no, I want to see who's following him. Give me 1 second and see who he's following. That's what I want to see.
Jennifer Ray says, what adult can vote or drive calls themselves a turtle boy? Good point. I love when Kate called up 911. It made me cry laughing. Let me see if I can pull it up. Hold on 1 second. So Kate called 911 on this guy. Give me a second. And her 911 call is the greatest 911 call ever made. I'm trying to look at I'm on my own live. That's a problem here. Hold on 1 second. See if I can find it. All right, let me go back to this. I'll keep looking.
So he's following. Let's see this list of people here. Kofindafer. Okay, but she's got like 90,000 followers. So that's whatever. Let's see. Crime and Culture with Sin. She's like some McAlbert stan on Twitter. Like I'm going Missy Lurch, of course. Valerie McGilvery. If you're on Twitter, you know these names because they are like the craziest people in the world. Shannon Burgess, the new man Shannon. Jessica Hyde, of course. Shazlik, Hillbilly Nitro USA, Cubic Z Painter, Leah Genduso, for some reason, Charlene McAlbert, that insane redhead in Indianapolis who accosted a child on Labor Day, Kerry Lama, Lavish Loves, let's see, Tuesday Gazette, Innocence Fraud Watch, which routinely calls me and just libels me, and there may be consequences for that. We'll see. What? Gretchen Voss.
So this is actually Innocence Fraud Watch's clip that she put up on a Rumble that I used. But he may sue her with, I guess, Mark Betterow as his lawyer for slander. I mean, come on. But here is Kate from Masshole Troll Mafia channel. Here's her 911 call on Turtleboy. Take a listen. I cried laughing when I heard this one. Okay, here we go. Wait. Got to go back to the beginning.
Yep. Can you describe what he looks like? He is he's a short guy, about 5'8", glasses. He's wearing a suit jacket. He's got a cell phone in front of his face. His nose kind of looks like a penis. Yep. Can you describe what he looks like? He is he's a short guy, about 5'8", glasses. He's wearing a suit jacket. He's got a cell phone in front of his face. His nose kind of looks like a penis.
How did she do that? How did she keep a straight face making that 911 call? I'll never know. I cried laughing when I heard that one. It's too good, right?
True Crime and Wine. Andy Dufresne's. Interesting. Let's see. I mean, you go down the list here. I found, of course, Krusty Panties. He follows Julie Carpenter, of course. Follows this crazy Kara, who I haven't even gotten into, and I don't know if I ever will. She's crazy in all of them. Follows them all. Like, why is he following Leah Genduso? Like, what?
Right. It's not the people that think Karen Reed can't figure out who did it. When you have Karen Reed's own words saying, I did it. Is he dead? I hit him. Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? Yes, I hit him. Is he dead? I hit something. Dad, Mom. Then you have her car data where he shows her car going backwards 24 miles an hour, never touching the brake. Then you have John O'Keefe's DNA on the back of her car, his hair on the back of her car, her taillight smashed, his taillight smashed all over, all little pieces of taillight, and the glass he was carrying all over the place. Her shady behavior of never talking to the O'Keefe family ever again, and never talking to John's niece and nephew ever again, leaving, coming into the house like a burglar and leaving, never talk to him again. Then you have the fact that her infotainment system had a warning thing that, a screen, a camera that beeped. And the closer she got to John O'Keefe, it would have been beeping louder and more persistently the closer she got to him. Turning red, flashing red, is my understanding. So, I mean, they just still can't figure out who did it. And never mind that there's no time from when the car left to go to the Sally part and when the search team arrived. There's no time to frame anything. So it's this is why people just like to say she's innocent, because to actually defend this position from beginning to end, and this may have been M William Phelps' problem, is that it's nearly impossible. And you have all this time to fill up on a podcast. I mean, I guess you can just fill it up with fantastical nonsense people have. But if you want to do something based on the trial or based on the facts of the case, it's awfully hard to just keep going into fantasy land.
Like what? These are the.
I mean, it's obviously not that hard because we have so much innocence fraud material in America. People have done it. I mean, did I not just show Amy Berg and her fantastical snapping turtle quote? I mean, you can go to snapping turtles, you can go to something else, some fantastical. People love it. So it's really not that hard, but you do have to keep somewhat, I would think. I don't know. People seem to, when you look at Elizabeth Loftus, went from case to case representing Ted Bundy, like the Night Stalker. I mean, was a witness for the defense for all these horrible people. Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein. And it really took until, all these killers, it really took until she started being a witness for predators that people found her distasteful. I mean, you could watch her TED Talk on YouTube. She's so revered. So I'm not exactly sure, why. I mean, I just can't answer the question why William Phelps went into the. My feeling is he just wants the whole audience. This is the way he knows he's going to get the other side, because by contract, you'll see that Aidan Kearney has to represent and push this podcast out, because the more he pushes it out, the more he gets paid. He's getting 40% of everything. So you want the other side,
people
right?
He's following. And I'm like, bro, this is going down. As soon as I saw that, I'm like, this is not. Of course he follows Wolfgang. Of course he does. What else do we have here? There's a couple more.
That's a favorite of mine, the Boundless Millennial. Goes by Wolfgang Bodie on Twitter. Stuff is fun on Karen Reed.
How about this? He asked me money and give you
Sorry, he was doing a few things on the Menendez brothers. Sorry, I just spazzed out. Boundless Millennial, and I am again the most hated person on Reddit. The free Menendez people have put up one of my Menendez brothers videos, and you should see the comments. They're hilarious. They're so angry. So here's he talking about all these people. But let's go back to the contract. Okay, I think he's almost done talking about all these people. My apologies.
Another person he asked me to get in touch with. Can you put me in touch with Jen Altman and Natalie? I go, Natalie, I can't. I meant to say I can't. I can't give you her number, but she's a witness against me, because I'm not doing any of this third party. They're going to say like, oh, you're telling people to harass her. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do that. So I do not give him Natalie's number. Okay.
So Jen Altman is a free Karen reader. She just recently left me a comment that she loved my work, that she was a mega fan basically. And that, Turtleboy was showing clips of my interview with Kate Peter of Mass Ultra Mafia, and Kate Peter is Turtleboy's public enemy number one. For one, and one of the reasons why is because she's so incredibly powerful when she talks about Karen Reed's guilt and persuasive. But another reason is that they used to work together and they hate each other. So he was showing clips of my interview with Kate Peter. So all these free Karen readers became aware of me. and Jen Altman, who's, I think is she the one who calls Aidan Kearney daddy? Came by and said that I terribly disappointed her, that she was such a fan of mine until I had Kate Peter on. Then it's all over. Apparently, I've lost her as a fan. And Natalie is someone who was really the original person who orchestrated this innocence fraud campaign with Karen Reed, for Karen Reed, and did all this. Leaked all this stuff. She was the go-between person between Karen Reed and Aidan Kearney for a while, until she wasn't, on a encrypted app. So he can't give Phelps Natalie's information because she's part of the lawsuit against him.
And so I do give him Jen's interviewed for the podcast, and just another example of, me doing the work. This is what he said about Plevin. When I heard that Plevin was on the podcast, he goes, he's like the only person from the other side that will talk to me, and I need someone. So he had to settle for Plevin, and now he's become Podcast Plevin, hasn't he? He's Podcast Plevin.
Right. He can only talk to Kevin. Apparently Kevin's the only one you can talk to from the other side. So they call Kevin from Yellow Cottage Tales. Plevin, and apparently he's the only one who can represent the other side, the prosecution side of this case. So that's so weird that he's the only one, really like the only one who gets interviewed. Kate Peter did a great job when she was interviewed on Court TV.
How about this? This is what he's asking me for. Is there like a two-way on YouTube? Is there a way? Because he's asking me for all these YouTube links. Okay. And like all these videos of everything. It's going to take me so long. Like to read, you want me to rewrite everything I've ever done? Put all those links in one email and send them to me, because he can the YouTube page and do it himself. Okay. He can't do it himself for some reason. All right. Could you be more specific? Okay. It's like you're asking me, like, bro, you guys get the point here. Is there any other good ones here I could show you? He asked me this, like, you'll see that Ted Daniels is in the podcast. He didn't get Ted Daniels. I did. I know Ted. I could talk to Ted. He's a colleague of mine. I got Ted, and Ted is on the podcast, and he only takes.
Does anyone remember Ted Daniels? He came on, I believe, was it Law and Crime? Or was it Court TV? He came on with a bunch of he's a news anchor. And he came on with a pink tie because Karen Reed had told everyone to wear pink.
Things like you'll see the little snippets he takes from Ted are designed to make me look unserious. Let's just put it that way. Because Ted has said some very good things about me on Law and Crimes podcast about this called Karen. So I think it's just called Karen. And Ted says great things about me. But Matt makes sure to clip things that don't sound as great. And here I am giving them all their numbers. Richie, Rita, Sean McDonough. Okay. So you got all them. Who else did he want? How about this? Okay. And all right. So we'll get to this when I play part 2. And then this is the dealing with professionally. Like I tweet out the Fairview Road podcast, and then I get back from edit that for me. It's episode 1 of 10 episodes dropping tonight. So I write part 1 of the podcast is coming tonight. And he's like, no, edit that for me. It's episode 1 of 10 episodes. Bro, down. I'll tweet when I can tweet with your hashtags. Okay. It's not, dude, relax. Okay. And again, I'll show you my contract too, right? Like this is what, and this is why I need to talk to a lawyer. Okay, so this is what it says here. It says, where'd it go? Turtleboy hereby warrants and represents the work is wholly original with Turtleboy or in the public domain throughout the universe, does not violate any copyright of any person or entity to the best of Turtleboy's knowledge in the exercise of reasonable prudence and due inquiry, and does not defame, infringe upon, or violate the right of privacy or any other right of any person or entity. Okay, that's not me. And is not the subject of any litigation claim that might give rise to litigation. Turtleboy further warrants and represents that Turtleboy has not granted or transferred any rights in or to the work to any third party, and have not and will not do anything which has impaired. This is what they're gonna like. This is right here. Okay. Hold on. How can I get rid of that? Make this nice and skinny. Okay. So it says here that Turtleboy will not do anything which has impaired or will impair the rights granted to the producer of the work. So I talked to my manager yesterday about this, and he brought this up, and he's like, well, that's the line right there that says you can't badmouth him, because he could argue that you're impairing.
My boyfriend just came in and said, what does he call himself, Dr. Turtleboy? Is he parading around as a doctor? Did Harvard give doctorates to get a doctorate? Misinformation. Heisenberg, it is being alleged there is a lot of infighting on Karen's side. Basically, the United Front showed in the media is only a fabrication. Apparently, I was listening to Sean's thing, and he's screaming about Kevin Yellow Cottage Tales, lying about him, you know. Certainly, it was like, yeah, it was the most uncomfortable thing watching it, because I've had the same experience with Kevin. So I'm like, yeah, I know what it's like. Like, Kevin gets something in his head, like, for example, that I assumed another name, Innocence Fraud Watch, and leading a double life, and we'll just keep saying it over and over again, and that I don't know the reason. I mean, he wrote me this email behind the scenes that was so cult leader like I know the real reason. I know, Roberta, I know the real reason you're angry at me. It's because of Grant. I know it and you don't. I know how you feel. You know your feelings. You know why you did it, because I'm all knowing and all powerful. I see what you feel. I know what you feel. I know what makes you angry. And it's not that I had a murderer on my show and presented him as a profiler. It's really because of your deep feelings towards Grant. Never mind that you blocked him at the time. Never mind you were going through your own problems with Grant at the time. I know. Admit it. Admit it to the all-powerful Kevin from Yellow Cottage Tales. I know. And he continues to say this nonsense and talk trash about me all over town. So, it was very odd watching that thing from Sean, who's, peppering in Karen Reed. We know you're innocent, Karen, in between these things, with these things that I've experienced myself with Kevin. It was an odd feeling. Basically, the United Front shown in the media is only a fabrication. Yeah, I don't even know how I would love to show some of Sean's video, but I mean, that would take me. I mean, talk about F-bombs. Like, YouTube is really harsh on F-bombs. Like the other unmentionable words, okay, but I don't know. It really just gets kind of abusive after a while, I find, like listening to so many F-bombs. Thank you, Heisenberg. Yeah, I'm aware. It's all imploding. He's like, Karen, come out with it. Come out with it, Karen. Come out with what you know. We know you're innocent. I was like, talk about false assumptions there, Sean, that she's innocent. Like you're so close. You're so close to getting to the truth there, but yet so far.
The project. You will not do anything which has impaired or will. And this is why I need a lawyer, because my manager is not looking out for my best interest because he represents him as well. And he hooked me up with him. So it's like, you're not looking out for my interests if you're saying what I can't about him. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm saying, Rich. It's like, and that's why I need a second set of eyes. I don't trust the manager. I don't trust him. He represents Phelps, so I can't trust him. So I need a lawyer to look at this and tell me what exactly this means. Because I don't want them pulling some bull and saying, well, you don't get your 40% now because of, and then there's this paragraph. Okay. He is
right. So now Turtleboy is worried that he's already, because he has such a big mouth. So this is the thing, like one of the things that Sean went over was Kevin. I didn't know it, but when Grant went off about this theory that Turtleboy was some kind of FBI agent, I was like, or asset or something. I was like, no way. That's how I was feeling. No way would anyone trust him with anything. He's got like the biggest mouth in the world. Anyway, so he's playing it and saying Kevin came up with that theory. Kevin says he's the one who came up with that theory, but he since has abandoned it. He's like, it was just a theory and I've abandoned it. When is he going to abandon his? I don't know. I don't think they're even theories about me. He knows it. He knows it to be true. And I should know it to be true too. That's like the way he was talking to me. You know it to be true.
He's a lawyer.
You know your real feelings.
So that's the thing. He's signed as my manager. But when he first messaged me, he's messaging me about how I'm a big fan of your work on Karen Reed. You're doing an amazing job on this. I'm an entertainment attorney. He didn't introduce himself as a manager. He introduced himself as an attorney. Okay. So look at this too. And again, I would argue that exactly he impaired the like this is failing because of him, because the podcast sucks. You put out content and no one wants to listen to it. And then this is the second part. This is like the other part.
Right. You didn't go with the big seller. The big money here is to say free Karen Reed is innocent, and it's all a big conspiracy because everyone loves the fantastical angle and they love to be with the in crowd. And this crowd will harass the living crap out of anyone who says that Karen Reed is guilty. They won't leave you alone. I did a tweet the other day about, it was pretty much like my Vanity Fair, the episode I did about Vanity Fair, going through Julie Miller's history of, so that's the writer who wrote the love letter piece to Karen Reed in Vanity Fair, going through her history of making murderers the hero of her story and being an innocence fraudster. And you should see the replies on that I belong in a ditch. I mean, that I see you next Tuesday. I mean, just like absolute venom that you can expect to anyone who they want to destroy you. They want you dead. That's the message. I mean, it's really like a violent reaction from that side. And so, of course, you'd want to be on the other side. And that's by design. You know, it's an innocence fraud tactic to make you feel not only ostracized by speaking out, but that it's dangerous to speak out. And that they'll get you and make your life unpleasant. And they've gotten people fired from their jobs, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, it's, you know, I've always said that the movement becomes like the murderer. So it is a destructive element in itself, and it is out to destroy just as much as Karen Reed has destroyed taken the life of, you know, killed John O'Keefe and aims to destroy his family and anyone who cared about him and anyone who will will stand up and say he's guilty, gets the same destructive force aimed at them.
That was brought up about like what I can and cannot say. Hold on, wrong size.
So how does Turtleboy
Turtleboy will agree to work with producer.
So hold on one second. How does he not know that by just doing this show that he's already broken the contract? He's already said the show sucks. He's already put it down and discouraged people from watching it, said it sucks. I mean, how I've seen like little clips of this other parts of the show where he's saying, just download it. Just do me a favor, download it. Just pay me. Because he knows he gets 40% of every download. So how does he know he hasn't? I mean, is he so dumb he doesn't know that he's already broken the contract doing this show? That's what I would like to know.
To form a media strategy that best works to serve and to promote the podcasts to get a larger audience while not giving away any exclusive information that could devalue or outdate the podcast. So I'm doing that. This is what I'm doing. And that's the problem. It's like the loyalties appear to be to Phelps here. Okay. So, and we're going to work together to make the podcast as successful and entertaining as possible for a large global audience. Guess what? I'm the only one doing that. He's not doing that. He's doing what is not helpful for growing the podcast because he's taken a position that nobody wants to hear. It's the exact opposite. I should be suing him because I'm like, we're partners in this. I'm making 40% and we're making.
How dare he not take the fantasy side that brings in the big bucks, right, guys? How dare he not just put out a totally fantastical podcast of BS that brings in the big bucks? I mean, if you ever listen to, like any kind of like, just for fun, like flat earthers or like wild conspiracy theories, those people get the most money thrown at them because those people are so desperate. It's such an extreme position that you don't hear anywhere else. So the more fantastical and bull essy your content is, the more the audience is going to be like, oh, we can't get this anywhere else. Nowhere can we get this warped version of reality. And they'll pay. They'll throw money at you. It's wild.
On it. Because this guy wants to be podcast plebin. It seems like he insisted it's not a conflict of interest. Okay. And this is, as we're going to see, this was he had the audacity to write podcast as part of the written part of it. A fair question to ask might be this: did Karen's parents trigger the sectioning so that Karen did not have to answer any questions by the police?
This is something that I have said over and over and over again on my podcast. Right here. You've heard it here a zillion times. Of course she did. The easiest way for her not to have to answer any questions of the police was to get her sectioned so that she got to go straight to a hospital and be evaluated mentally. She didn't have to answer any questions because her breakdown sure seems short-lived, right? seemed awfully vague and short-lived. He's like, who would say that? Me. I would ask that question. And I did ask that question over and over again. And in fact, that's what I believe to be true. She was very crafty, Karen Reed. She got her stuff immediately. She went to the hospital. She got her father got her, out of there quickly. Her family got her out of there quickly. And she got herself to the hospital before she had to answer any real questions. And I feel so sorry. The judge, as Tom Mortati, the civil lawyer who appeared on this podcast, predicted, Karen Reed has got her civil deposition from her lawsuit from the O'Keefe family moved to after the trial, which I thought they had a great argument, but the judge, which was, you can't say that she can't answer questions in a deposition when she's talking to Vanity Fair and everyone else, but okay.
No, it's not a fair question. And no one's even asking that question. Not even the trolls were asking that question.
Oh my God!
That's not following the facts. That's just making up insane conspiracy theories in your head to try to sound like you're the smartest guy in the room.
Really? Am I the smartest guy in the room, Aidan? Because I ask that question a lot. I put out that theory a lot, and that's what I believe to be true. If you can do it, you will do it to avoid having to cement your story to the police. If you know you're guilty, a great way to avoid talking to the police is to get yourself into a hospital for evaluation where you don't have to talk to the police. Unfortunately, that's where they drew her blood, and her blood alcohol content was still so high. I got some messages on Twitter saying, well, nobody said Karen Reed was drunk. Exactly. I don't think the alcohol touched the sides. Police didn't say she seemed drunk. The people around her didn't seemed drunk. I think she is almost impervious to alcohol. That's all I can say. But obviously, her blood alcohol content was over the limit greatly, even when they tested it way after the fact. So
anyway.
So that's it. That's it from Aidan. But, we like to be in the in crowd. We like to be we're social creatures. We like to be amongst people that agree with us. We don't like to be the black sheep. Person sticking out, saying they're guilty. And certainly on this side, it's a tough road to hoe if you're going to have to say Karen Reed's guilty. And certainly not where the audience is or the money is. But have you guys ever seen the Ash conformity experiment? Thought we'd look at that. So this was an experiment done to look at how we deal with feelings of being outcasts or out of the group.
But an experiment is not a public opinion poll. It examines behavior under the pressure of social forces, as the experiment of Solomon Ash reveals.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the three lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the fifth person with the white t-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2.
2.
2.
2.
2.
3.
3.
3. 3.
But on the third trial, something happens.
2. 2.
2.
2.
2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence. Ash found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1. 1.
They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me.
1.
This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct.
1. 1.
1, 2. 1. 2. 2. 2.
I know they're wrong, but why should I make waves?
2.
In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing with the group. Here, the distortion is at the level of his response.
2. 2. 2. 2.
In the previous experiment, the naive subject stood alone against the group. In this variation, Ash gave the naive subject a partner, here seated in the third position, who also gives the correct response.
1.
1. 2.
1. 2.
With a partner, yielding drops to only 5% of the critical trials compared to 37% without a partner. Although subjects report warmth and good feeling toward the partner, they typically deny that he played a role in their own independence.
Isn't that interesting? So if you're sort of tuning out, so what this was a experiment where everybody was in on an experiment except one volunteer. And they'd show pictures of a line and how big it, a line up to other lines and which was the biggest line, or which was the line that was most like the which line matched. And they'd give purposely wrong answers, and they found that the ones that were in on it, I'm explaining this so poorly, aren't I? How much worse can I explain this? So the ones that were in on it were giving purposely wrong answers, and they found that the volunteer who thought that didn't know that the people were in on it would start giving wrong answers 37% of the time. But when they had a partner giving right answers, they would give the right answer. So it just shows that we like to be part of a group, herd mentality, and that we question our own judgment when everybody's saying, Karen Reed's innocent. Don't you see all this terrible corruption? Well, what corruption? We just have evidence of some mean text messages, inappropriate text messages. Haven't seen any corruption yet. Can't you see? I mean, are you so stupid? Are you so crazy? What are you, a plebeian? A crazy bootleg Ted, what did he call her? Something Peggy Bundy? What's wrong with you? Right?
The partnership variation shows that much of the power of the group came not merely from its numbers, but from the unanimity of its opposition. When that unanimity is punctured, the group's power is greatly reduced. Sometimes we go along with a group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity. The strength of the normative factor is shown in another variation carried out by Ash. In this variation, the subject is told that because he had arrived late, he would have to write his answers. Subjects in this private response experiment are exposed to the same amount of misleading information as other subjects, but they are immune from any possible criticism by the group.
1. 1. 1.
And this enormously reduces the pressure to conform. Conformity drops by 2/3. Ash's experiment is a classic. It reveals how people will deny what they see and submit to group pressure. It allows us not only to observe conformity, but to study the conditions that increase or reduce its occurrence.
Right. So I always think that's an interesting experiment, which makes it all the more important for people to speak out, especially when our media is so poor. When you have Vanity Fair joining in with this absolute love letter piece to Karen Reed. I'll be going to that soon. I mean, there's so much to talk about with that piece. They've got their own expert to confirm that their computer expert, who was so wrong that the whole computer program had to be rewritten to avoid his wrong conclusions again, but that supports the Vanity Fair has found some computer expert to support the defense's computer experts' conclusions. It's wild. It's some wild stuff, guys. So, we use experts. All these things can, they use experts, science, crazy scientific theories, like snapping turtles. That's the stuff that innocence fraud is made of, and it just seems to get bigger every year. So it makes it all the more important to speak up about it. All right, before I go, how am I doing on time? All right, just wanted to look at, hold on, let me just make sure that I have the right thing up. Yeah, okay, hold on. I just wanted to look at Innocence Fraud Watch's blog. Let me pull it up. Give me a hot minute. So she wrote a blog about this saying, killer Karen Reed retrial, essayist, my words not hers, and rabble rouser Aidan Kearney, Turtleboy Kearney, and M William Phelps are both spreading misinformation on murderer's case, and there will be consequences. Matt Phelps, Brian turning red. Oh my God, he looks like he wants to jump over that railing and attack. That is classic. This closing is brilliant. This is a copy of a leaked message from M William Phelps, dated July 25th, 2024, to Aidan Kearney. And there she put in her clip of his thing that we just watched. Disinformation as well as spreading misinformation. Aidan Kearney also spreads disinformation and lots of it. Disinformation is false information deliberately spread to deceive people. Matt Valentina's manager of Kearney and Phelps. I feel betrayed by my manager, Aidan Kearney says via YouTube, November 2nd, 2024. Matthew Valentinas has seemingly been a fan of Aidan Kearney since 2019, as the following tweet suggests. Matthew Valentinas says in this tweet, interesting interview via Turtleboy Sport. Must listen. Stepdad of dead Amesbury teen threatens to murder me. Wishes death on my kids. Says his daughter was attractive. Lies several times. In July 2024, Matthew Valentinas falsely states on his LinkedIn bio that Trooper Michael Proctor, quote, was fired. As it can be seen in the screenshot below. Matthew Valentinas advises an array of clients covering all transactional entertainment matters with a roster covering authors, screenwriters, directors, producers, production companies, criminals too, Chinese gang members, publishers, life story rights, estate rights, investigative journalists, broadcasters, actors, podcasters, radio and television personalities. Misinformation is false information that is spread by people who think it's true. Misinformation is fake news that is created and spread by a mistake by someone who doesn't realize that it's false. Aidan Kearney left and M William Phelps on September 29, 2024. There will be consequences. On November 2nd, Aidan Kearney made the following statement. This is his whole tweet about it. I agreed to do a podcast about the Karen Reed case with M. William Phelps after my manager set me up with him. I met with him many times, and he led me to believe he was a serious journalist who was following the case of the facts of the case and was going to put out a comprehensive podcast. So really, you can take that to mean backwards. I thought he was going to go in on the conspiracy theorist, thus, and make us a lot of money. Thus, all I've heard is misinformation and wild speculation on his part. Unfortunately, I haven't heard any of my misinformation and wild speculation. He doesn't want me bad-mouthing his work, publicly, won't return my text, and told my manager. It's not that he doesn't want you bad-mouthing his work. It's that you signed a legal document that you shared saying you wouldn't badmouth his work. Won't return my texts and told my manager there would be consequences if I said negative things about his coverage of the Karen Reed case. Yeah, because he signed a contract, dude. He says the criticism of his podcast thus far and the fact I called him cowardly because he doesn't allow comments or replies to his tweets is a personal attack. Our contract says that I will make 40% of all advertising revenue, which is dependent on downloads, and that I will promote the podcast. And although I will continue to share the podcast and encourage you to download it, cha-ching, cha-ching, keep the money flowing, I won't stay silent and sell out. I'm not the kind of guy you can scare with threat of consequences. Well, that's for sure. That's for sure, says the guy facing multiple witness intimidation counts. And if he thinks that he can censor and silence me for a payday, he got the wrong guy. Tonight on the live show, I'll be exposing all of the blatant misinformation that thus has been shared on the first 3 episodes. I have a feeling he's going to try to void the contract and keep my 40%. So I'm also in the market for an attorney to look over the contract and make sure I don't get effed over here. Mistake of facts, In part 1 of his podcast, M William Phelps makes several mistakes of fact on the case against Karen Reed, a few of which were explored in the blog headed Disappointing Start to 10-part limited series 34 Fairview Road by M William Phelps on murderer Karen Reed, featuring essayist and rabble-rouser Aidan Turtleboy Kearney here, and further Mistake of Facts by M William Phelps in part 2 of his podcast 34 Fairview Road here. Concoction in part 3 of his podcast, M. William Phelps ignored the testimony of Canton Police Sergeant Good, among other things, and made up the following narrative about witness Carrie Roberts. Carrie gets Karen to sit down in one of the Canton police cruisers, not only to warm up, it's about 18 degrees and snowing, but to try to settle down. Listen to the clip below. In reality, it was Sergeant Good who had Karen Reed sit down in the back of the Canton police cruiser, not Carrie Roberts. Watch the guard in car video system. The police cruiser was kitted out with a watch guard in car video system. Sergeant Good's testimony was, so I walked Miss Reed to the back of 682. She was cold. She was obviously cold. Got her in the back of the car, put the heat on. Asked her, how did she end up here? How did her boyfriend end up here? She says, I don't know. I asked her if she had driven there, and she says, I think so. And then right after that, she said, I don't remember. Because of her state, I decided to stop questioning her. She couldn't keep her train of thought. Hidden evidence. Sergeant Good also testified on the watch guard in-car video system as follows. It was front view camera, and it also has in the prisoner passenger seat, has a camera there as well. They should be working. Audio in the back seat. They're activated by, if you flip the lights on, the blue lights, it automatically click. You don't have to press record. The cruiser will automatically start recording. Any kind of impact, the camera starts recording, but actually it ends up being passively recorded even when it's not on. The recording of Karen Reed in the back of Canton Police Cruiser 682 was hidden from the first jury and has been hidden from the public. Listen to Sergeant Good here. And did Kevin Reddington, former lawyer for Jennifer McCabe, obtain audio recording from Canton Police Cruiser 682 for his client? If not, why not? Conjecture, as well as making up the narrative on Carrie Roberts, instructing Karen Reed to climb into Canton Police Cruiser 682, which did not happen. M. William Phelps also appeared to guess at when Karen Reed called Carrie Roberts back for a third time. Listen to M. William Phelps in the clip below. The exact times Karen Reed calls to Carrie Roberts, apart from the 5 a.m. on the dot call, are not known by the public. Reed, murderer, confessed to Matthew and Jennifer McCabe she had smashed her taillight to smithereens. And then you can go to Innocence Fraud Watch's fantastic, dynamic, chronological, interactive timeline of killer Karen Reed and murderer John O'Keefe there. So that's what I have for today. Please hit the thumbs up, subscribe to the podcast, leave me a comment. I'll be back. I'm not sure if I'll be back tomorrow. It's election day and it's so tense here. I'm going to kind of play it by ear. And I don't know if everyone's going to be glued to it or not. I think probably I'll see you Wednesday, but possibly tomorrow. Have a great night, everyone, and be sure to vote tomorrow if you're in America. Thanks for listening. See you maybe tomorrow, maybe Wednesday. Have a great night, everyone. Oh, wait, hold on one second. Not yet. Not yet. Hold on. I have something for the outro. Here it is. Here you go.
I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system a clown. Innocence fraud campaign to save my skin. Making money, truth is my second victim. Carry, Jen, like John, you were my mom. My innocence fraud campaign is my biggest hit yet. I hit my boyfriend with my car. It wasn't an accident, but with lying lawyers I'll go far. Lying lawyers and witness harassment, I'll avoid prison. It was snowing. I pushed the pedal down, hit him hard. Now the legal system, my clown.